Hey, thank you for coming by Tori Magoo 44. Today is the 11th of January. And kicking back. It's the beginning of a new year. Alright, so let me get this off. Hang on. This is always my worst thing. Ooh, wrong thing. See? One of these days. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me. Alright, hang on. I think this is it. It is. I'm going to put the link to this music, though. I like it. Cindy Harvell. Anyway, good music. And if you have any good music, send it to me because I like it. Sorry, my ears are like totally cooped out, but what can I say? Every once in a while that happens. So it is 2013. I hope it's started as well for you as it has for me. It's been a really good year so far. There's a lot of things happening. Over on Tony Ortega's site, which I'm going to post the link down here, he's reviewing Dianetics and what it actually is. So if you really want to learn what Dianetics is, you can click on this link and follow it. I'm not going to do the same thing because he's already doing it. I'm happy he is, Tony. It's a good thing because people often wonder, like, what is Scientology? And it started with Dianetics. My husband, my ex-husband, and his parents got in 1950. I mean, they got in 1950. He got in a little bit later, but not much later. He was pretty much born into it. And they were a lot like, if you see The Master, that's how it was. The Master is a lot about 1950, 51, that kind of thing. And they were kind of like the people in that time. They had little parties at their house and people would come over and they would try Dianetics. And I mean, for people that now know how Dianetics is run in the Church of Scientology compared to back then with book 1. And that's what I think I'm going to talk to you guys about. Because Tony's actually going through what it is and how it works. But back then, they told me some really funny stories about it. And plus, I'm going to answer a couple of questions that people asked me. But first I want to finish this. With the book 1, which was Dianetics, they literally, like, this is a true story. My ex-husband's dad had a thing about dogs. Now, in Dianetics, it has nothing on that. It isn't like you just take up something and run it. It doesn't work that way. But that's not how they did it. And he said, I kind of hate dogs, so I want to take that up. Back then, they laid down on a couch. And so he said, you know what? I think I'm just going to go to sleep. And you keep repeating dog, because there was a thing Hubbard had called repeater technique, where if you said all the time, I don't know, after a while, you would say in session, okay, repeat the phrase, I don't know. And supposedly you would repeat it, and it would pop you into an incident, which I did audit someone where that happened. So, whatever, you can take it for what it's worth. But the point is, he had this thing on dogs. So he said to the auditor, you keep repeating dogs, and then when something comes up, wake me up. Which is hysterical when you think about it. I mean, how would he know when something comes up in his head? I mean, that's how kooky it was back in those days. So the wife, his mother, is walking outside, and she hears this other voice going, dog, dog, dog. And she's thinking, that's not how you run Dianetics. And so she opens the door and hears her husband sound asleep on the couch. And the auditor's going, dog, dog, dog. So anyway, it was pretty kooky back in the old days. But, she had a huge win on it, which, whatever, I won't get into that. But different people did and different people didn't. So it just depended. But Tony goes over specifically how it works. So there you go on that. I just wanted to add that. I'm going to try to add a little bit on it each day. Of my personal experiences with it, because I also train people in Dianetics too, which nobody ever followed up on it. Just so you know, it was really funny. They'd come to the seminar, which was free, and then they would never come back, not ever. It was amazing, and they would say they had these big wins, but that was it, gone. Okay, so now the first person that I have here is CVS GS AM MAG. I don't know how to pronounce that. But you wanted to know more about OSA. And you said, what is it? It's the Office of Special Affairs. They say that's their legal and PR division. The truth is, and no one in the Church of Scientology, including me until I think the last day when I was going to escape out, really understands that they do fair game out of the Office of Special Affairs. They get people like me. I was volunteering, helping out. And how totalitarianism works is the right hand never knows what the left hand does. So that way they can say to the right hand, this is my analogy, I've said it before, but I'll say it again, okay, this is top secret, so you can't tell anybody. Promise? And you're like, okay, yeah, sure. And they're like, okay, take this envelope and put it in such and such an envelope at 3 o'clock. You have to make it at 3 o'clock, that's it. And you're like, okay. It just seems so like nothing. You're like, all right, so you put the envelope in the mailbox. Now they say to another guy in a different room, top secret, don't tell anybody, only you can do it. We want you to put this box, this little tiny box, in that mailbox at 4 o'clock. And it has to be at 4 o'clock. And you're like, okay. So now you're both watching TV at 6 o'clock, separate houses. You haven't talked to each other or anybody else. And on the news, the mailbox blows up. Now, this is an arbitrary example. It's not a real example, but you see how that works? Neither person knew they had anything to do with the end product of what happened there. And that's a lot how the Office of Special Affairs works. I'm sure for the girl who handed me the thing from the judge, she was just some kid that was on the block, and they probably paid her $50 to hand it to me. And she knocked on the door. She said, "Are you Tori?" And I said, "Ah." And she goes, "You've been served." And I thought, that's pathetic. But I'm sure they do stuff like that too. I have no idea. I don't have all the ins of what they do. I only know what I did, which was my auditor and best friend, Bill Yachty, was a Class A CS who worked in the Church of Scientology, Sherman Oaks now. That's where he works. But he used to also, and probably still does, works for OSA. And he was setting up these 10 different identities back when they only had the alt religion Scientology. That was all they had. And then Andreas started Xenu.net. But those were the only two things you could talk on. And his job was to try to drive down any of the topics that they didn't want seen and onto page 2. And to me, it made sense because I was with them at the time. And it was like, oh, yeah, we don't want anything about Hubbard, So I was opening up these phony accounts that were anonymous. It was like 8 years prior to anonymous, or really 10 years because it was in the 90s. And, he would just keep pounding them down, creating different identities and different, like Mary said this and Joe said don't say that and whatever. And each one would drive the topic down until it was on page 2. And their viewpoint, I don't think it's wrong, is that very few people read page 2. So that's where if you can pop something up that's a really hot item, do it all the time because they're always trying to drive things down. Always. Okay, so there's that. I hope that helps. It's, there's a lot more to it. You can Google around on the internet. My friend, Lori, who now has passed away, used to always say Google is your friend, and it's really true. Okay, Alex Kelly asked me about the doctrine and theology, the study of religion and beliefs. And the truth of it is, they don't have a doctrine or beliefs. Hubbard was very strong on that. It was like, this is a science, right? But of course, it's a high crime to question it, to actually test it, to ask for any kind of, real results on it. So they don't really have that, and I'm not going to speak about it. There's probably people in the independent group that might want to say they have a theology or a doctrine, and you can ask them because I don't really think they have a theology. They don't believe in God. They don't have churches, really. They call it the Church of Scientology for their nonprofit status. They do a Sunday service because years ago we realized we don't even look like a church, because people go into course. That's all they do. And they study stuff. But it's not really a doctrine. They do have doctrines. They have all kinds of stuff. But you can go to What is Scientology and read all of their stuff of what it really is, what they say it is. But I would say definitely read both sides because their side always looks fantastic. Everything's just perfect and they can help you. But then you look at how many people are out. L. Ron Hubbard said there's 2.5% are declared suppressive people that are SPs on the planet. There's now at least 50%, maybe 60% of us that are out, undeclared suppressive. So hello, for the people that are in, hello, something's wrong. All right. So now, OSSOVUCO 88, Osso 88, I like that. Okay, who in the U.S. government is protecting this band of criminals? Excellent question. Very good question. And if I knew it, we could do something about it. Unfortunately, I don't. But I highly recommend to everyone around the world that this year, 2013, we all together work on getting their nonprofit status removed. Okay, they're not a nonprofit organization. They are 100% a for-profit organization. You have to pay. It's like a triangle, and you have to pay for every level. They call it a donation, but it's not like a church where you can put in a quarter or you can put in $50 or $1,000. You have to pay. There's a price tag on it, and you have to pay it. And before you even get on a course or service, you have to join the IAS, which is the International Association of Scientologists, and that's a whole nother level of triangle of nightmare of money that they keep grinding you on to pay for. So it is absolutely a business, and please, I want people to contact your senators, your congressmen, legal people, and say, look, come on, this is, why is this, exactly this? Like, who in the government is okaying this? Well, we need to start talking about this. And I think if more people bring it up in more areas around the world, it's going to go down. And Miscavige, I've been warning you about this for a long time. And it is going to happen. I've been saying TikTok, time is on our side. And it is. Because the more people that leave, the more people speak out. And the more people that speak out, the more people leave. So anybody who knows more on this tax thing, which I think Marty and Mike, I'm pretty sure you guys know something about this. And I would really like it. Maybe you already have and I missed it. And if you have, just say it on here and tell me where the link is, because I would like to read and hear about it and know about it. But I still think it isn't enough, and I think everybody needs to keep pushing on it so that we get the whole thing removed. Because even if they have told their side of it, there's more stuff out there because they still have the status, and it's not right. They're a business. Okay. Louis Friedman said, is there lack of love in Scientology? And asked about the abuses of children in Scientology. There's absolutely, it's tricky because, individuals, one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is that Scientology, again, is like a triangle. You've got at the top the Sea Org. These are people that have signed a billion-year contract. They're there 24 hours a day. They live there. They sleep there. That's their job. Then underneath that, you have staff. Now, those guys are either day or foundation. They work in the day there and do something else at night, or they work there at nights and weekends. That's the staff. And they get paid, the Sea Org gets paid like $35 a week for working 24 hours a day. The next ones get paid, it's a little bit more, but it's still nothing. It's like $50 a week. It's not much. And then you have the public, which is a big part of Scientology. Well, not anymore, because a lot of the public have left. So it's shrinking every single day. But there are lots of people who are public, and all they do is pay for courses or auditing and do it. That's it. And maybe volunteer. But that's it. And very few of them volunteer, because I volunteered for years. And it's like maybe 5 or 10 people volunteered. And the rest are trying to get up to being, patron meritorious or something where, they get the big red carpet treatment. And I told Scientology back then, I said, you guys are creating your own enemies, because a lot of these people are never going to be patron meritoriouses. They just aren't. They're not people that are going to ever make that much money, to donate that much money, which is $250,000. So, but they could volunteer if you would treat them like Yvonne did. Yvonne treated everyone. She loved everyone for their help and acknowledged it. And so people would say, well, I can do more. And people around, almost everyone who knew Yvonne helped her in one way or another. She started Celebrity Center. But these other guys, they don't have time for that. And thus, all these other people are like, well, I want to be patron meritorious, so I'm busy working. Everyone's like working, and working over here, and working over here. And it's like, what are you guys working for? I'm 65. Most of you are 65 or 60. You're in between that band. If it really worked, if this technology really worked, don't you think by now you would have seen really big changes in each other? And look around at each other. That was one of my big wake-up calls. I realized, wow, we really haven't changed. My mom used to say that to me. She'd say, Tori, you're just growing up. That's all that's happening. That's what happens when you grow up. You're a little bit wiser. You're a little bit smarter. You learn some things. That's what happens when you grow up. That's all that's happened. And she was right. She really was. So think about it. So anyway, those are the questions that I have. If you have a question and you'd like to ask me, please, either send it to me or just write it on the notes and hopefully I'll get it. And if I don't, send it to me again. I get a lot of different mail and things like that, so things go by the cracks, but I definitely care. Some wonderful people have left recently and talked to me, and I really want to congratulate you. I'm so proud of some of the people that have left. It's really, really good. And as soon as they speak out, you're going to be really, really happy. So to all of you, I love you. Everyone who is helping, thank you so much. To my girlfriend, Spanky Taylor, I am so proud of you. Lawrence Wright's book is coming out, and I want to give a big pitch for that. Definitely get it. It's going to have a lot of things in it. Spanky Taylor has been out for 20 years and has never spoken out. And she spoke out in Lawrence Wright's book, and now the Hollywood Reporter put it on the front page, her story, and it's an amazing story. So if you haven't seen that, I'll put the link in that too, because it's really great, and I'm really proud of her. I really am. And to her daughter, Vanessa, who really saved her life, because Vanessa was a baby at the time, and she had to take her to the doctor. So good job. All right, so peace out. I love you guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, and keep doing what you're doing. Bye-bye.